Once upon a time, there was a little country called France. However, France had many issues in the 18th century, which led to the French Revolution. Here is why France went into the Revolution.
Before the Revolution, enlightened philosophers brought new ideas and knowledge to the French people. Enlightenment is the idea of using logic and reasoning over traditional ideas. These enlightened philosophers included Locke, Montesquieu, and Diderot. Enlightened ideas caused people to question things such as monarchy in France.
France was split into 3 estates: the First Estate, the Second Estate, and the Third Estate. The First Estate consisted of the clergy.
The Second Estate included the nobility and the royal family.
The Third Estate, which was 98% of the French people, consisted of the bourgeoisie, the peasants, and everyone else.
The Third Estate was treated unfairly. For example, they were the only estate that was taxed, even though they were the poorest. Also, the Third Estate was angry because they had high taxes and couldn't pay for bread for their families.
These high taxes were caused by Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, who were ineffective leaders of France.
On June 17, 1789, the Third Estate declared themselves as the Assembly of the Nation. This was created after the Third Estate was locked out of the Estates General by Louis XVI. The members of the National Assembly headed to the tennis court and decided not to disband until a new constitution was written. This event was called the Tennis Court Oath.
During which oath did the participants make an awful racket? The Tennis Court Oath!
Dear Lord.
After years and years of built-up tension and anger by the Third Estate, it finally erupted to the storming of the Bastille on July 14, 1789. The storming of Bastille was considered the turning point of the war. It was a violent outbreak where sans-culottes broke into the Bastille prison to get weapons. They were angry after hearing a rumor that Louis XVI was shutting down the National Assembly. The storming of Bastille is celebrated today as a French holiday known as Bastille Day.
A few days after the storming of Bastille, the Great Fear started to spread throughout France. The Great Fear was a mass hysteria that began with a rumor stating that the manor lords and nobility were planning to raid the homes and farms of the Third Estate. In response, the Third Estate revolted by burning the manors.
Soon after, feudalism was abolished.
Feudalism was a society that had different rights for different classes, similar to the First, Second, and Third Estate.
On August 26, 1789, the Declaration of Rights of Man was published. The Declaration of Rights of Man was a decree of the National Assembly.
This declaration ensured certain rights of man, including all men were born free, all men had the right to liberty, all men had the right of property, security, and resistance to oppression.
On October 5, 1789, a mob of angry women marched to Versailles demanding bread after a rumor that Marie Antoinette was hoarding grain in her palace. These angry women were able to force Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette to return to Paris on house arrest.
Nearly 2 years later, on June 21, 1791, the royal family attempted to flee Paris to Austria, where Marie Antoinette's brother resided. However, they were recognized at the border of France and was imprisoned.
Eventually, the king and queen were tried for treason and found guilty. Their punishment was death.
Louis XVI was executed on January 21, 1793, while Marie Antoinette was executed several months later on October 16, 1793. They were executed by the guillotine.
The king and the queen did not have a happy ending. These events sum up Phase 1 of the French Revolution.